I have to tell you, America, I wrote on this board over here about how the Middle East would be set on fire, and I told you that during Tunisia. Well, let me give you an update now. A bomb struck an Israeli bus stop in Jerusalem early this morning. One woman was killed, more than 30 others were injured. This was the first major Palestinian attack in the city in years, and it is going to get worse. They are poking Israel. They want them to respond. Over in Syria, forces opened fire on protesters, killing at least 15 people. Why don't we have a no-fly zone there, too? A witness described the scene like this. The security forces fired as they came from the north. Bodies fell in the streets. Then we go to Libya, where we strangely are protecting the citizens. This is a country that is in trouble, and I fear is going to make England, France, and the U.S. look bad. I wonder if that was intentional. Because at the same time we go in and we protect, which I'll get to here in a minute, just the innocent citizens of Libya, the same weekend, the German magazine Der Spiegel comes out with a story of rogue soldiers in the U.S. Army. Is it a coincidence? I'm sure it is. I'm sure it is. But the good news is there are certainly no extremists in Germany, right? No Islamists to get all riled up. Oh, no, wait. We just lost two American airmen in Germany recently when an Islamic terrorist gunman opened fire on a bus full of U.S. Air Force personnel outside of Frankfurt's airport, killing two, wounding two others. And now, coincidentally, when Germany says, no, they don't want to go into Libya, but France, U.S. forces, air forces, go in to Libya. Isn't that weird? At the same time, we get these kill team images. We get these images from Der Spiegel. Now, a senior NATO official says these images could be worse than anything that came out of Abu Ghraib. Why? Because there's something here. And according to Der Spiegel, quote, the United States and NATO are concerned that the reactions could be intense to the publication of these images of alleged killings committed by U.S. soldiers in Afghanistan. At NATO headquarters, there are fears now that the coming days could see angry protests in Afghanistan or even potential attacks against NATO units. Is it also surprising that Germany is pulling their forces out of this NATO action? Despite all of this, we know that 99.99999% of all American troops are good, decent, caring individuals. The best and the bravest that humanity has to offer, not just America. This story is going to be spun as though this is the way we party with dead people. That Americans are racist and hateful and murderous animals. We are not. But that is going to be taught all over the world. And it starts in Germany. And it will set the Islamic world on fire, most likely in Europe and Germany. This could absolutely make Americans pariahs and further destabilize not only the Middle East, but Europe. Also on the Libyan front, remember the story last week where Muammar Gaddafi declared that these rebels weren't just ordinary citizens, that they were al-Qaeda terrorists. And he asked, what would the terrorists do if America took an American city? They do. Well, we have this interesting tidbit now from Time magazine. The Obama administration knows that al-Qaeda is active in Libya. Quote, Obama and his aides know that they are taking a big risk. It's a huge gamble, says the senior administration official. Really? The administration knows, for example, that al-Qaeda, which has active cells in Libya, will try to exploit the power vacuum that will come with a weak or ousted Gaddafi. That's exactly what we said would happen. Time mentioned that we may actually be helping the terrorist with this air campaign. After all, if al-Qaeda is there, wouldn't it be safe to assume that they are fighting against Gaddafi for power and control right now? A senior member of al-Qaeda said this about the uprising, quote, the Libyan people have suffered at the hands of Gaddafi for more than 40 years. He's used the Libyans as a testing ground for his violent, rambling, and disgusting thoughts. He also stated, he warned, that retreating will mean decades of harsher oppression and greater injustices than what you have endured, end quote. They are clearly not fans, those people of al-Qaeda, of Gaddafi. Could Gaddafi have been telling the truth? Yes, he could. And no, Gaddafi is not a good guy. even though there are those in this country who think he is, and with Cass Sunstein and George Soros' help, tried to convince people that he was. There are people that have warned this president not to mess with him. Who was that said that? There is no good solution to this situation at this point. First of all, we waited too long to take any kind of action. We waited until it became a huge mess. Then we waited for the UN approval. We didn't even ask our own Congress, which is unconstitutional. I understand that with a no-fly zone, you have to take out the anti-aircraft guns and the surface-to-air missiles and maybe the radar stations, but since when do we take out tanks and tents to enforce a no-fly zone? There are people that might think that we're making a big mistake here. But is it a big mistake? I mean, for the cynical people, because the more cynical people might be wondering, is this being done on purpose? Is there a reason to entangle us in a mess like this? When we come back, I'm going to show you something from a past president who warned us, you will pay. I'll show you how we'll pay from the past in the mid-1980s. Next. We're going to have to push off the report from the Pentagon in tomorrow's program. You don't want to miss it, and don't miss the Friday show about the Fed. We're talking about Muammar Gaddafi and Libya. This scenario just doesn't seem to make sense to me. First of all, Gaddafi does have friends all over the world. He has billions of dollars socked away, reportedly at least 40 billion. The richest man in the world only has about 53 billion. And he has bought himself some friends. For instance, CARE, the Council of American Islamic Relations, the executive director, asked him to underwrite CARE's efforts in the United States during a September 2009 audience with the Libyan dictator. But they're the good guys, remember? Here in America, he can obviously count Farrakhan as one of his buddies, and Jeremiah Wright, the former pastor of the President of the United States, who visited him back in the 90s with Farrakhan. He's a fan as well. As for me, I'm a little pickier about my friends than that. I tend to shy away from those who have tried to kill presidents of the United States. Yeah, most of us have forgotten this. Gaddafi tried to have Reagan assassinated. None other than the New York Times reported in December 1981 that 5 terrorists trained in Libya entered the U.S. to try to assassinate Ronald Reagan. Reagan even wrote about this in his diary. He said, quote, "We have an intelligence report that Gaddafi has told others he intends to have me assassinated. It's a strange feeling to find that there is a contract out on yourself." Here's what Reagan used to say about Colonel Muammar Gaddafi.
Colonel Gaddafi is not only an enemy of the United States. His record of subversion and aggression against the neighboring states in Africa is well documented and well known. There is no security, no safety in the appeasement of evil. This mad dog of the Middle East has a goal of a world revolution, Muslim fundamentalist revolution. I find he's not only a barbarian, but he's flaky.
Okay, so what makes you think a man like this isn't funding the terrorists anymore, wherever they are, especially if you poke the mad dog? Secretary of State Hillary Rodham Clinton said that Gaddafi still has, as you probably know, some remaining chemical weapons and some other nasty stuff that we are concerned about. Well, I'm sure he'll never use them or give them to anybody nefarious to use elsewhere, or just maybe lose his life in this and then they fall into the wrong hands. Yeah, we certainly don't want to help the terrorists. So what are we doing in Libya? Why are we there? What is happening? And is it a coincidence that Der Spiegel came out so the entire Western world could be, what was it that I said here? Oh, the protests would become cascade. They would cascade, they would sweep into the Middle East, and they would begin to destabilize Europe and the rest of the world. What a crazy conspiracy theory. Buckle up, gang. It's about to be a bumpy, bumpy ride. But we finish up with some good news next.
The tiny town in Maine fighting back against the administration's big bad food regulations. Next.
Here is a good piece of news for you tonight. It's Americans standing up. It's in a tiny coastal town of Sedgwick, Maine. They voted to approve what they call food sovereignty. They're pushing back against what they say is unconstitutional regulations of the FDA that farmers can't sell their own milk. So now they can consume food at their own choosing and their own peril if they choose. Also, ordinances similar to this one are going up for a vote in 3 other Maine towns. Americans, one by one, are using the court system, the justice system, the system that is outlined in the Constitution of each state in the United States of America. And they are grabbing their rights back because they know they are not rights that they have. These rights have been loaned to them, not by the government, but by God. And I support them by God. Viva the Declaration of Independence. Viva la Constitution of the United States of America. Yes, we can. I get it, Aaron. I get it. Aaron just told me, you can't sing happy birthday to the president's health care bill because you'll be fined $10,000. And I'm like, no, I won't. She said, yes, you will. And I said, no, I won't. She said, yes, you will. It's copyright, $10,000. I'm singing it in my head. Find me for that one. That's how screwed up this country is. And I'm torn because I believe in copyright laws. It's the damn banks. That's who's screwing our happy birthday songs up. I'll tell you that right now. By the way, speaking of the banks, don't miss our ode to the Fed on Friday. Yeah. Friday. We'll see you tomorrow from New York. Good night, America.